Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. I hope you're all doing good today. So we're going to turn up the Spring Colors pen. I'm pretty excited about this one. It was a good mix of colors, and then I honestly didn't even plan this. It's like, it literally looks like an Easter basket. So let's switch to this view here real quick. Look at that. And actually, let me go grab all the rest of the blanks. It'll be a little easier to see some of the colors. Where did they go? Oh, they're gone. I forgot. They went out with the boxes. They're already on their way. So anyway, this is what you get to see. You can look at the short or reel, whichever, or Facebook. But we got blue, green, or blue. We got green, white, and pink. And I'm really excited to see how this pink looks turned up. I think it's going to be a good one. It kind of looked Pepto-y, you know, Pepto-Bismol-y in the cup and everything, but I think it's going to be good. I hope it will be. So I'm excited to see how this thing turns out. So what I decided to go with, I was actually a little disappointed. I really need to stock up on different kits. There's certain kits that I really like, and I had one in mind for this one, but I didn't have the kit. So that's cool though. I got lots of other ones, but you know, you got to have those standbys. But what I thought I'd do is, I really liked the stainless steel element series from Turner's Warehouse. It's a cigar kit. It looks really good, I think. I think it's going to be a good one. Camera looks, I need to increase the size of this window because it's screwing me up. There we go. Now I can see what I'm doing. So anyway, all the components are made out of stainless steel, solid. So, you know, it's not like super flashy or anything like that, but it's really a nice, solid kit. And I mean, pretty much it's going to last forever. The thing I really like about the Element series, because they're made out of solid materials, you know, there's the stainless steel, the brass, the copper, and, you know, of course, you can patina the brass and the copper. They also have aluminum, but you know, it's never gonna, like, your plating is never gonna wear off or anything. Like, even if you got like scratches or something on it, like technically you could probably even sand it out or something, you know, polish it up. So it's pretty cool, like compared to the plated ones, which they're fine. There's nothing wrong with the plated ones, but I really like the solid, you know, solid metal of these guys. Pretty cool. So anyway, that's our kit. And we're going to put that on this blank, and it should be pretty good. Now, one other thing that I wanted to mention, I have been collecting faux burls. I have 2 boxes on the website right now of these guys, and what it is, it's $10. You get 10 of those little faux burl things, so you can recast in clear, or you know, you can do whatever you want really, but typically people do clear, so you can see the ridges and all that stuff. But anyway, those things are available. There's 2 available. I think I have enough for 1 more even. So if anybody is interested in those, let me drop a link real quick. How do I do that? Here we go. Here we go. And that. Drop the link. And I think there might be a link already in the description as well. But anyway, those guys, like I said, there's 2 available if anybody wants to grab those. It's just the over pours, you know, I don't pressurize them. So there may be a few little air bubbles here and there, but I've turned a few of them and I didn't have any issues with that. But, you know, that's one thing. They're not like perfect faux burls. They're just the over pours. Kind of fun and a cheap way to just kind of make some handles or stoppers or, you know, whatever you want to make. Put these guys back where they go. And all you got to do to recast those is just use a 1.5-inch PVC pipe. You drop it in there. My recommendation would be to get the from Turner's Warehouse. Oh, that's not the wrong size. Don't get the wrong size one. Get these little rubber stoppers, and they just pop into a. Is that the right size? Yeah, a little tight, but. You just pop it on your 1.5-inch PVC pipe, and I mean, these are by far the best. They're never going to come out. They're flat on the bottom. What I used to use was the tapered plugs, and those are kind of a little bit easier. You just kind of jam them in there, but tell you what, you got to really watch out, because if you just pick up the pipe, and this, of course, you know, I've done it, pick it up to put it into the pressure pot or something like that. I've had the plugs come out. Typically on the 3/4 inch pipes, like the smaller ones, those usually stick pretty well. But on the 1.5 inch and like larger, man, you got to really watch out. Those things come out. But these things, the ones from Turner's Warehouse that are flat and everything, and you don't have that excess junk on the bottom with the Turner's Warehouse ones. They're pretty nice. Pretty good stuff. So if you want to recast, and they even sell the 1.5 inch PVC pipes if you want on Turner's Warehouse. Let me go grab a link to these things so you can see where they're at. See if I can find it real quick. Yeah, pipes and plugs. You can just go down to the hardware store and get, you know, whatever PVC pipe they have, but I'm just gonna drop a general link. This is to the plugs. You just choose under their little settings, their selections. You can look for plug only, pipe only, or they sell plug and pipe sets. So let me grab a link really quick here. So if you just don't want to mess around with having to go somewhere else, you can just order the whole thing from Turner's Warehouse, and they got like, I want to say they have like from like 1/2 inch PVC. Let me look here. Well, maybe not. They used to have smaller, but they got 3/4 inch, 1.5, 3 inch, 4 inch. So I mean, they pretty much have everything that we use typically in stock, and they got plugs for all of those things as well. So it's pretty cool. So let me scroll back up to the top here of the chat and see. Okay, so Mike McEwen was here first, and we got Mark L. Homer Lex is in the house. And Bruce is here. Nice, nice. Tim Olson, nice. Brian over at TBC Bushings is here. Let's see. I think I saw Lelia was in here a little earlier. There's Lelia, yeah. And David Bingham's here. Paul's here, back from the cruise around South America. That's pretty cool. Well, kind of cool. I think I'd rather be on the boat personally, but cruises are fun. I like those. And Harold's here. The pink glow in the dark. Oh, that's cool, Harold. Nice. I'm really glad about that. That's a really cool thing. Like literature and like writing go so well together that's a perfect thing to have to give out pens for the book club hosting. That's cool. An appointment to attend to. Oh man. I don't know, Michael McEwen. We're gonna have to do double time next time. I'm just kidding. Sweet. All right, so let's get to turning. I guess let's head over to the lathe. I don't think I have any other like news or updates or anything like that. I'm still in like figuring things out mode with the pigments. So we're getting really close, but there's a lot to learn and kind of set up before I can really actually sell this stuff. But I'm getting really excited to get going on this stuff. There's only like a few decisions to make, things to do, and like equipment to get basically at this point. And it should be starting soon. So I'm looking forward to that. It's been a little bit of a wild ride. I'll tell you what, guys, I really like learning new things. So, you know, like I'm kind of, unfortunately, I'm a little bit like, I don't know that I have like an ADD type thing, but I'm definitely like a focus hard on something, and then when I kind of figure it out, then I'm like, okay, next thing, you know. So I like learning and diving into things a lot, you know, which obviously is really hurtful on the pocketbook, but it was really fun kind of learning a lot of different stuff about the pigments. I like mixing them and learning, you know, how to get certain colors and all this stuff. And the whole bottling and selling of it, oh my God, that's a whole rabbit hole. So, it's pretty fun. Hey, Tesh is here. How's it going? All right, so let's head over to the lathe. That's the wrong camera. Let's do that one. All right, so I can't wait to see how this turns out. I guess one other little quick update. These pens, the white ones that Barb sent, oh man, I'm telling you guys, if you need to mark dark things, grab these guys. And I don't think it really matters which brand. I definitely do like this one out of all the ones that she sent. I think it's kind of funny that she sent like a whole pack of of these ones compared to the other ones. But so they're, and I don't know if it really matters. I really like the size of this one. This one is a 0.7 millimeter. And this was the box, so Utilo Craft. I gotta be honest, I don't know that it really makes a whole lot of difference, like what brand. They all seem to work, you know, the same. But these are working really good. I have used them, actually, on a couple different things. And it's nice that I had that whole pack of these ones that I like the best, because I got them kind of all over the shop at this point. But somewhere around that 0.7 millimeter, maybe 1 millimeter, maybe 0.5, you know, like whatever. Somewhere in that range, I think, is a really good number for just like marking pen blanks and little things like that. It works really well. So big thank you to Barb. And because Barb sent that, this pen is going to be going to Barb. She's been asking for pink in something for months, I think. I'm just not like, the first color I think of is not pink. So that's why I hadn't done it yet, but so we'll get a little bit of pink. But like I said, this thing looks like an Easter basket, so I think it's pretty cool. What is this? Oh goodness. Let's see. Let me open the thing, get the chat going on my phone. Let's make sure we got a good view of the pen. I have to turn down that light a little bit. We got the dust collector ready. We got the glasses, and again, you know, I mentioned these glasses that have the little magnifiers in the bottom. I don't know if you can see that down there. And these things are working really good. I really like them. Now I can see what I'm doing. Although I will say, you can see the finish better, like the polish, and you're like, oh, it's not good enough. So if you don't want to see how bad your polishing skills were, don't put the glasses on. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, Mark said, I think a lot of us have that issue. Yeah, it is kind of a common, especially people that are interested in learning, like doing maker type things. I think we all are kind of in that boat. Let's see here. So really loud in my ear. I'm gonna crack another dust collector opening. Hopefully reduce that noise just a little bit. I was gonna say something, but now I forget. Oh, these blinks. So we used, I came up with, for the pink and the green, I just kind of mixed some of the pigment colors together to get those kind of little custom colors. And then for the white, we went with that Snow White, the pearl, the mica powder. It's a P-Town stubby color. And I linked to that in the description of the video already. That's kind of become my go-to for if I'm going for like a real pearl color. Make it look kind of like pearl, mother of pearl kind of thing. I'm really digging the Snow White for that. It works really well. I put a little bit of white pigment in there too. That just kind of whitens it even more. And it makes it a little bit more opaque, but you still get the pearl, the shimmer, but you also get it just a little bit whiter with that as well. So I like that combination. It's working really well. The things that I like, because I was using Pearl X, they're micro pearl, and another option would be, I don't know how you even pronounce it, S-H-I-D-E, Shida, maybe, Shide, from Eye Candy's another similar one. I find that the Pearl X was a little bit more dense, but it's also super clumpy, which makes it not super awesome to mix into your cup. Whereas the Snow White kind of bridges the gap where it's still pretty like fine particles, but not super clumpy, which is pretty awesome. Sometimes that's kind of like the trade-off that you have to do with some of these micas. The finer the particle, I mean the Pearl X one, I mean it literally looks like powdered sugar. So I mean it's super fine particles, but you get a really good shimmer that way. But like I said, pretty clumpy, and you got to sit there and kind of mix for longer than normal mica powders. The Shido one is not as clumpy, so it's a good option also. I just bought like a gigantic container of that Pearl X, and I'm like, well, I found the Pearl X to be, I liked it a little bit more. I don't even know exactly what the difference was in to my eye. It was pretty slight, whatever it was, but I had a giant bucket of the Pearl X one, so I just kind of stuck with that. But the eye candy one works really well. It's extremely similar to the Pearl X one. Very fine. It's very fine, but it doesn't clump. So that's, I don't know how they did that, but you know, eye candy does pretty good with their pigments. So if you buy the eye candy, and I'm pretty sure Turner's Warehouse carries Shida. So if you like to stick with that, you know, there's no reason to go buy Pearl X. But I do like the P-Town one also. If you don't really care either way, it's also a good one. Alright, so this is looking pretty good. It's a little bumpy at this end, so I think we're just going to kind of taper this down just a little bit more. Not bumpy, but like bulbous, you know. Alright, that's looking really good. I like that shaping. Let's double check and see how the ends are here. Very good. Perfect, okay. Yeah, that pearl is gonna be pretty awesome. One of the cool things, like I really like mixing micas with the solid colors, the liquid pigments, because you get that, you know, kind of, I mean, they can be glossy, but it's like a flat, you know, it's not shimmering, basically, the green and the pink. But then that pearl pops out, and I'm just going to wait, because I think it's going to be way more impressive to wait till we start sanding and polishing. Frankly, I can turn the dust collector off now. But I do think that it's cool, because then that shimmer, you know, those little areas that have that shimmer just really pop out. So let me look at this thing just a little bit. Gotta be honest, I'm gonna do a little bit more shaping. I'd like to kind of get the angle. I'm kind of going for almost like kind of straight, and then just a taper down, and I don't really have that yet. Gotta make this thing nice for Barb, you know. Ann's here, what's up? And Robin too. Let me get in here, let's see. Alright, I like that. Still just a little bit bulbous down here. There we go. Alright, okay. No more cuts. One more cut, you know. That's where things go sideways. So I think I'm going to be happy with that. Just like that. Kind of straight. A little bit of a bump out, but it kind of had like a at this front end. So let's see here. How's that angle? It's looking pretty good. Just kind of play with that. So we got our lathe buddy going on. I need to wash this thing. It's getting to the point, guys. So I think what I'm going to do to wash it, I think I'm going to take it out, because what ends up happening is you get kind of the water and the slurry with water from sanding pens, and it, the water evaporates, and then you're left with the like dust, basically, from the slurry stuff dries, and it's just dust on your lathe buddy. And so I think what I'm going to do is take it outside and just beat it, try and beat most of the dust out of it. And then probably the simplest way to deal with them, if you've got like one of those bigger sinks, it doesn't really matter. If you got like a utility sink though, or something like that, or a big sink, probably easiest just to hand wash these things, but you can throw them in the washer. I'm going to try the washing machine first. The thing is, it's most likely, because of the magnets, probably just going to kind of stick to the side, which, really probably isn't going to make any difference, but they can be, just put in the washing machine. So I'm going to try that first, because that's, easy. And then going forward, it's probably easiest just to kind of quickly hand wash it. I'll get my sandpapers out. Let's see. I gotta look at this thing here. See who I missed. Missed anybody? Yeah, I like this green as well. It's a good one. Emil from Connecticut, welcome to the stream. Nice. Or maybe Emily? Emily. Sorry if I totally butchered your name. I didn't have my glasses on. That's what I'm going to say. Okay, so I don't think I missed any questions or anything. Slow this lathe down. And so what I got here is just some 600 grit, wet dry. And if you can get the surface really smooth, if there aren't really a lot of tool marks and stuff, then you can even adjust. How the surface starts is going to kind of dictate where you start sanding, what grit you have to start sanding at. If you've got a totally dead, like really no tool marks, like you see the people that use like skew chisels for like pen blanks and stuff. I mean, they can get the surface like, butter smooth, right? You don't need to start at 600 grit if you've got a totally dead, flat, perfect surface off the tool. And this surface was pretty good. Like, frankly, I probably could have started at the green. That's my next step. So, you can kind of adjust. Now, if the surface is like super kind of ridgy and dippy and all that stuff, and you're trying to like, sand out some of those tool marks, then you might even want to drop down to like a 400 to start. The higher you can start, the better off. I mean, obviously it's just less sanding, but it also, you just don't have to take out, if you put, 400 or lower grit, scratches into that thing, then you got to get those out as well. So it's kind of a trade-off between using the most efficient grit to get the surface, started perfect. So that first grit is pretty important, because you got to get the surface smooth. Otherwise, all that extra work, every other grit is just not really, it's not taking out any like ridges or bumps or tool marks. So you got to get that surface good on the first round, but you also don't want to be, you don't want to pull out like 80 grit and start there. That's just a lot more work. And what I find ends up happening is you end up, the lower you start, the harder it is to get all of those scratches out going, forward. They look like you kind of got them, but it's easier to miss scratch marks when you've started with something really aggressive. So 600 is a pretty good start, especially this stuff. The wet dry seems to be like a little bit more, I don't know. It's hard to explain. it tends to work a lot faster. I used to use Abranet, the stuff that's kind of like a mesh. Let me see if I can find a example of Abranet here for you guys. It's a disc. Let me just pull. I buy it on the roll, so it's like it's like see-through, right? And so it's like a almost like a screen with grit on it. And I think the thing is, because there's so much air space, like there's no grit particles where there's air where you can see through it. And so I think the thing is with this wet dry is there's just more particles, because I used to use 400 with the Abranet. That was where I would start. And I don't need to start at 400 with this stuff for sure. And frankly, I could probably even go up to 800 a lot of the time, depending on how good I can get it with the, smooth I can get it with the tool. And I highly recommend doing this step on every grit. It just helps. There's lots of theories and things behind why, but I just trust me. I think you'll find a better polish in the end. You'll get more scratches out if you do that side to side, lengthwise, whatever step in the middle. Let's see here. The only problem is with my glasses. Chris, what's going on? Doing good. So I was right. Emil, maybe? Oh, you like the 600. I'm telling you, the 600. I don't know. Like I said, there's... if you really get nerdy on sandpaper, which I have done in the past, it wasn't for this, really. I had a knowledge of sandpaper from just woodworking stuff. And it's really interesting because, you see like all these brands have all these different types of, I mean, literally, if you go to like 3M's website or Merca, Festool's got all these different types of sandpapers, and really they really do different things. It's not just really marketing hype and all that. There's like what's the density of the particles, and I mean, even the paper and the glue that they use and all. There's like a whole science to sandpaper. And so, the thing with wet dry though is it's such a dense, what do they call? There's like a name for, there's one thing, and it kind of has to do with like that density, I guess, of the grit particles, how many there are, I think. But the problem is the more dense, that the grit amount is kind of, let's just call it that. I can't think of exactly what, this is, over 10 years ago that I learned about all this stuff. But the denser it is, the less, the more it tends to kind of clog up, I guess, So that's kind of the trade-off. So you really want to use water with these higher density type papers, but they certainly work better, I think, than your lower dense. The lower density ones are better for removing a lot of material faster. They don't clog up as much, and Abranet would kind of fall into that, but hopefully, that's why it's good to try to get it as good as you can off the tool, so you don't have to mess with sandpapers so much. But the lubrication definitely helps when you're sanding plastics. So definitely, I think that you're much better off wet sanding with this stuff. And I was stubborn, and I would, my problem is I didn't like starting with, so like with the Abranet, I would just do it dry, and it worked fine, but the problem was I didn't want to have to like wipe it off to see the surface every single time to dry it. I'm just lazy. But at this point, I don't mess with that anymore. I just use the water. You're going to get a better surface, gloss and everything every single time. All right, so we're moving on. And I just go up to the gray Zona paper. So this is the Zona. You can get this stuff. You can get packs of it from Turner's Warehouse. This stuff is great for the polishing. It's like a lot of people know the micro mesh. It's basically the same type of thing. It is different, but think of it like that. If you're familiar with micro mesh, it's basically the same thing. But I like having the thin sheets. It's cheaper too than micro mesh. But I never liked those like pad, thick, hard, kind of rigid pad things. I couldn't feel what I was doing, how much pressure I was applying really. And I would end up burning up those things and having to go through even more. These I can kind of feel the pressure, and I don't know. I like it better. I like the color coding of these. Micro mesh does make paper sheets, but they're all shades of gray, so you have no clue what number you're on. I don't know. Use that for a little bit, but once I found the Zona, I never looked back. All right, we'll give this a little bit of a lengthwise, and then we'll pull out the magic juice because it's magical. Yeah, the Zona is pretty good. You know, I like it. It's always tough for me to say, like, I used to use buffing wheels, and I still use them. I think they're good to have in a shop where you're doing this type of stuff, but it's really hard to be like, hey, you know what you should do is go and try buffing wheels, because like you're talking about, like, I don't know, if you buy the 3-wheel setup, I mean, it's over, you know, $100, I don't even know how much they cost anymore. It's a lot of money to try it out, see if you like it, right? But with the magic juice and the Zona paper, I mean, that's like a cheap, let me try this out kind of thing. And if you don't like it, you know, okay, you wasted like 10 or 15 bucks, whatever. and it'll still work. I mean, it's not like it's not going to work for you. You just may not like it as much, possibly. But most people do like both the magic juice and the... actually, I'm gonna leave this thing down for the polishes. Most people find that they do kind of like both the magic juice and the Zona papers. If you haven't tried them, it's definitely worth trying out at least. And I like to use the Scott paper towels. They're just a little softer, less abrasive than like your typical white, you know. I got, what are they? Some of the white ones may not be as bad, but for me, what brand is this? Bounty stuff we get it at Costco. That stuff is pretty rough. Like, so if you're trying to put like a high polish on something, it just, to me, I don't know. I don't have like scientific evidence of this, but it just seems like that's definitely rougher than this one. And I haven't found anything that's like, you could use like what do they call it? A microfiber, but that stuff kind of worries me. If you're using like a big towel of it, if it gets wrapped up on the lathe, that's super dangerous, like injury time. So I don't like that. And you can cut it into little squares, I guess, but it just, I never really found that I was getting any better, you know, polish from, I have tried things like that, but nothing seemed to really make any difference. So I like these blue ones. All right, so I'm going to crank this up to about 2,000. I don't know, somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 RPMs. That's another thing that I guess I don't really mention a lot. And a lot of times people ask or are curious, like what speeds, you know, do you turn at, do you sand at, do you polish at, you know, all these types of things. Typically it doesn't matter that much, but for turning, I just crank the speed up as far as it goes. For something very thin diameter, small diameter like this, faster is generally going to be better. It's just you're going to be getting, in like the feed rate of your tool, how fast you move the tool also plays into this a little bit. If you're turning slower, then you need to move the tool slower. That's called like a feed rate. So you can kind of adjust things by, you know, there's two metrics really to that. But you know, on average, you know, if all things are equal, you're moving the tool the same way. If the thing is spinning faster, then you're going to get technically like more cuts per minute, per second, whatever, the faster it goes, and you're going to get a kind of a smoother surface when it goes faster. So that's kind of like the theory behind speeds and all that stuff. However, you know, you're not going to turn a bowl at 5,000 RPMs because that wide diameter, it's going to get dangerous right away. But for pens, I mean, there's really no, I wouldn't even blink an eye. You know, like some of the Nova lathes go like 5,000. I mean, sure, go for it. You know, why not? I wouldn't blink an eye if you want to turn that fast. I don't think that's really necessary, but mine goes 3,500. That's the top speed, so that's generally what I turn at for pens. And then for sanding, I do think that slower to a point is better. So I'm usually somewhere in the neighborhood of like about, I don't think that really worked too well. I'm gonna do this one again. It almost seemed to like dull after that. Might have. My number 2 is getting kind of thick. I'll use a little bit less pressure this time. There we go. Anyway, I usually go between 500 and 1,000, and I think that going too much faster than 1,000 when you're sanding is even wet sanding. I don't really recommend it. I think you're going to get better results basically if you're going a little bit slower. But you don't need to be going like 200 RPMs or something like that. Like you can spin it up a little bit. And then for doing this polish, I've found that somewhere around 2,000, 1,500 to 2,000 for the Magic Juice works pretty well. If you go too fast, it kind of flings the stuff off. And if you go too slow, it doesn't seem to really work as well. So, but all these things, these are just what I use. You know, a lot of times you got to kind of play around with things. See what works best for you. I think it's about time to get some more Magic Juice going. These bottles seem to be a little low. Yeah, the swap out time for buffing, like unless you can, like, because I have a mini lathe. I got my old Comet set up, and I basically just leave the buffing wheels on. And if you are lucky enough to be able to do something like that, then it's not really that big of a deal, but I still typically don't use the buffing wheels. Magic Juice does the job extremely well. Now, I will say that I think that I can get a slightly better polish, like perfect. A little bit more of a perfect polish, like no scratches. But it's going to take me longer, and I got to sit there and go back and forth. But it's just, I've been doing that so long with buffing wheels that I know how to do that. So sometimes I'll use buffing wheels if I need like an absolutely perfect surface. But the thing is with Magic Juice, if you pull a microscope out, yeah, maybe I might be able to see some scratches here and there. But the thing about Magic Juice is it like hides the scratches versus other things. And I think like I've looked into I don't know, I kind of got into like car polishes and waxes and all that kind of stuff. And I think that I don't know for sure. I've never even talked to Michael Harding about this, but I want to say, you know, these are probably some form of like the same thing as like a car polish type thing. I mean, they're all, whether they actually are or not, it's something similar to car polishes. And some car polishes actually have something in them that actually kind of sit. It's almost like a wax or something, like, I don't know. There's something in some of them that is meant to hide scratches. It kind of sits in the crevice, in that groove, that you know, because the reason why you might have a scratch is you just didn't get it out with your sandpaper or something like that. But some of these things have like an ingredient that kind of sits in there, and it basically, to your eye, again, unless you're really putting it under a microscope, you're not going to be able to see that scratch. Like it still creates the same amount of gloss. What ends up happening is if you got a bunch of scratches, then it's not going to get as glossy because the light isn't bouncing the same way. It's refracting the light rather than bouncing directly off into your eye. And so, but if you can kind of fill that, like it basically masks any scratches and it still looks like absolutely perfect. So it's just, it depends on what you want. If you're going for absolutely perfect, no scratches whatsoever, then you know, buffing wheels can help and they serve a purpose, but it's generally not necessary for most things. All right, guys, this thing's looking pretty good. So can you see? I'm going to turn the light down just a little bit more. I don't know how good that is. Yeah, there we go. So what I love is these little pockets where the pearl like really pops out. You know, you have that just kind of like gloss or whatever you want to call it, mostly, but then little pockets of pearl pop out at you. Love that. Now I went for, I don't know how see-through the pigment was. You know, depending on how much you put in there, it can kind of be a little bit translucent. It's not going to be transparent, but I did use a white tube behind these. I also think that just in case if there's any areas where the white was that had some, you know, thinner amounts of mica powder, it's not bad to back that with white. And white generally will transfer light better. So if you're going for you know, anything where you want it to be as bright as possible, then typically you want to choose something like a white tube or some sort of a brighter, lighter color. Black, on the other hand, will kind of absorb light, so it kind of deadens it. So in some cases that's, you know, good, but in most cases that's not really what you want. So white tubes are usually my go-to choice. All right, I gotta put these little things away. Where do these go? These can go in there. Sorry guys, I'm putting away these little microfiber pad things. I used to have a little microfiber towel over here, but I don't know where that went. I was just gonna wipe off the blank a little bit. So I'll just use this guy. Just get any excess polish off of there. I'm gonna take these glasses off because the magnifying portion as I'm walking around is terrible. It makes me dizzy. All right, so we'll zoom this out. We'll get this guy off of here. Let's see. Yeah, I know. That's how I felt too, Mark, about the Zona papers. I mean, they're just off the bat. There's less steps, you know. So there's less pieces that you have to go through, less grits, and they do the same amount of work. They end up at the same point, and they seem to be more efficient. I don't know. To me, I mean, I definitely hated those pad ones, like the thick foamy things. I would just wreck them because I was pushing too hard. I couldn't feel what was going on, and so I'm like jamming it into the blank, not getting a good, you know, polish on the blank because I'm pushing too hard, and it's just burning. Like it would just wreck the papers, and I'm like, this is just a waste of money. So I, you know, just moving to the thinner papers for me, you know, non-padded backed ones was better. But then when I found Zona, I'm like, oh, these are, for me, like I said, much better. You made a cigar kit with the camo blank. Nice. You stopped at 600? Nice. Got rave reviews? Sweet. That's cool. Black cigar kit. That's a good one. That's a good combo. Let's see here. Magic Juice is pretty cheap. I mean, well, the thing about it is, you know, I mean, you're going to have to keep buying it, right? So, I mean, you know, it's a consumable. You can look at it that way. But what I was saying is to test it out, Turner's Warehouse has, they have like a sample what do they call it? Like a trial kit, or I don't know. I'm gonna go grab a link to it because I really think if you haven't tried it, they have like a small kit of them for like $15. They call it the sample set. So I'm gonna grab a link for you guys. I mean, for $15, and it's not like you're gonna turn some pens with this little kit. Like, it's 10 milliliters, but I mean, you don't need a lot of this stuff. So like this little sample set is gonna get you through some pens anyway. So for $15, yes, give it a shot. Like a glaze, fill-in glaze. Yeah. Jake's here. What's up, dude? I missed this morning's thing. What did you guys do on your stream? Let's go grab a link to Jake's channel. Is Jake are you yeah, you have the wrench. Drop a link to your channel, Jake. If anybody's not subscribed to Jake's channel, then you really need to be. Like, if you're hanging out at my channel, you need to go check out Jake's channel. For sure. All right, so let's swap these guys out. We got the first one done. I always like to grab just a little paper, little thingy. There's usually a little bit of gunk on the inside. Not too bad there. A little bit more there. So I just wipe that off because I don't want that stuff. It's not going to cause any issues, but when you press the parts together, if there's like a blob of it, you're going to squeeze that out, and that's just like, now I got to get my microfiber out again. And there could be something kind of abrasive in there, so when you're wiping it off, you know, you never know. I'd rather not deal with it. Just wipe it off when you're done. And he made masterpieces. I love it. Nice. Yeah, we're trying to make a masterpiece here. All right, let's see here. Yeah, and so they do a live stream on Saturdays. When does yours start? It's like 8 a.m. like Pacific time? Is that something like that? I always miss it because it's a little earlier than I do, generally. I'm like just waking up. But they do awesome stuff on the live stream. Resin casting oriented. A little bit of turning here and there. And it's always a good time. Sorry guys, I'm just getting the pen press set up over here at under the other camera real quick. So we're ready to rock and roll. All right, so here we go. Let's turn the other half. So 8 a.m. Pacific time if you're on the west side. All right, so turning the dust collector on real quick. Let's finish this thing up. So I don't know if you saw earlier, Jake, on last week's thing, but Barb, I would imagine Barb probably hangs out. Barb Fillion. She sent me these little paint markers. Because I was complaining that, like, on dark blanks, looking through the camera to put that cap on dark blanks, when you're trying to mark things, like regular Sharpies don't, black Sharpies don't work. But if you ever need to mark something dark, these acrylic paint pens, and I really like this 0.7 millimeter one. She sent like a whole pack of different size ones and all that, and I kind of like this kind of finer 0.7 millimeter. These things work great, so if you ever need to do that, just sharing some tips here, because It's like a game changer. I got those little pen markers all over the place in my shop. All right, we're getting close. All right, let's stop it and see how we're doing here. Oh, we got a lot more of that pearl on the top here. That's cool. It's looking pretty good. It's kind of a little bit of an odd kind of shape, but let me just look at this thing. Yeah, I think we're gonna a little bit of bulbous still in the middle. I think we'll just kind of knock that down a little bit more with the taper. All right. Still it's kind of a weird bump going on here. I don't like it. All right. No more weird bumps. Give this a good sanding. Turn off that dust collector. It's just making a racket, basically. Already in my cart. Nice. Yeah, they're pretty good. I was, and that's part of the reason I brought it up. This pen is going to go to Barb for hooking me up. She sent, I mean, I'm not joking. She sent a pack. Let me go grab all the pens that Barb sent. I'm going to need a basket here. So, and luckily she sent like a whole pack of these ones, and it turned out I really liked those. That's the one with the 0.7. But then she sent all these other brands in different sizes and all this stuff. I kind of tended to like the smaller ones, especially for like the pin blanks and stuff. I like just making like lines where I need to make like a cut or something like that. But the other thing that I found with these, I mean, some of these things are serious, right? If you got to mark something like, but what we were messing with, let's see, let me go grab that one. You could just paint your tubes, your pin blank tubes. We were just talking about white. You could just use one of those, and I mean, you could just use a Sharpie even if you wanted to. But I would recommend doing kind of two. I only did like one coat, so there's obviously some areas that are kind of thin, but I just wanted to kind of see how it adhered to this, and did it rub off or do anything, and it's on there. I mean, it's not coming off on my fingers or anything. I think it would probably hold up to the gluing and all that stuff. But because you're kind of just these markers are kind of like rigid. So it's like a marker tip. Even the big ones, the problem is you're like painting it on a curved surface, and I don't know that you're better off painting like thin lines on, and I think just doing a couple coats. Then it dried in like 5 minutes, maybe 10. You could just put another coat on. But yeah, so multiple uses with these things. If you wanted the bigger ones, they can do other things as well. Pretty cool. All right, let's get our water bucket out here. Get our little papers. And another thing that you can do if you go for I usually use the magic juice, but you can actually just polish up using the Zona papers all the way. There's how many steps? 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's the way it goes. There's green, gray, light blue, pink, aqua, and then white. I wish they would make white something else, because it's actually hard to figure out which side has the it's like the finest one, and it's hard to tell which side is like the back and which side actually has like the grit on it. But if you just polish up with these things, you don't even need magic juice. It'll go all the way to like super gloss with that if you go all the way through them. I personally get a little bit better. I don't know. I'm just better at using the magic juice, so I generally do that. But I know a lot of people that just use Zona papers. That's it. They don't even polish. Like use like a liquid or whatever polish. So Zona is a pretty good one. Yeah, the piece of silence after the dust collector is so nice. Oh, that's a good idea. Mark the back of the. Yeah. My problem is I cut them into these little squares, like quickly, and I don't think about it. But yeah, that's a good idea. You can kind of tell, like if you really look at it, you can kind of tell. But I mean, some days I got to sit there, especially once you get it wet. You're like, I don't know. Okay. Who knows? Maybe regardless of which side you're using, it's the same 1 micron or whatever. Maybe that's the actual trick. But there does seem to be something on one side. Had a few more tool marks on this one. Just didn't get as smooth a surface off the tool as I would have liked. So I'm just going to give this a couple extra seconds with the 600. And again, you know, with the pressure, you don't need to like be like forcing, jamming the paper in. Let the sandpaper do the work for you. Clean it off regularly so it doesn't load up. You should get pretty darn good results. And again, definitely, I think this step is important, doing the side-to-side sanding. I like to, I don't know, let's wipe it off in between each step and see if that changes anything. I usually do, when I switch from the, you know, the black, the wet dry silicon carbide to the Zona paper, but I don't usually switch between the green and the gray, or like clean it off. So let's try it. Let's see what happens. In theory, you would, you know, cleaning it off after every step is probably smarter. Oh man, and last time I was at Turner's Warehouse, I've never actually bought the sample pack of the magic juice. I've never seen it really. I've seen a picture, obviously, but I was walking through the, you know, at the event, and I was in the back room where they store all their stuff. And I walked by and I saw that little sample set of those little tiny bottles, and I was like, oh, how cute. So if you want a cute little set of magic juice bottles, get the $15 sample pack. All right, that ought to be polished enough. Give it a little bit of that. I'm going to wipe it off in between again. And if you want to take it a step even further, part of the reason why I don't really wipe it off in between at least between my Zona papers, is I'm still just dunking it back in the same bucket of water. So like if there's some sort of particle contamination, it's, you know. So if you really want to, then maybe have even a different water bucket for every grit. You could probably even just get something that has just multiple channels in it, or, you know, to hold different water things. Or have a lot of cups, you know, either way. That could help, maybe. I don't know. It seems kind of tedious to me. But I do know people that do that. So if you want to, you know, do a little experiment, give it a shot. See if it changes, if you get a better polish or not. I kind of have tried that, and I didn't really see a difference, I don't think. But I've tried a lot of different things, and tried things early on that didn't seem to work, and then I've actually gone back to things because I've kind of figured out the technique a little bit better, maybe, you know. Much of it just it comes down to patience. If I'm like too impatient to mess with it, I'm trying to hurry things, that's usually when things don't really work out so great. All right, so we got that done. Wipe this guy off again, and then we'll hit it with some magic juice. We'll get to put this thing together. All right, step one. Oh, I gotta go get some blue paper towels. The secret key. I don't really think that it matters, you know, with the paper towel thing. If, like, in my mind, like steps 1 through 3, I would imagine that the paper towel is a finer grit than 1 through 3, let's say. Where I have a problem is when you start getting up into the super fine, you know, 4, 5, and 6 steps, like you're starting to get into pretty fine particle size. And that's where I don't know what you would consider those, like, the, you know, just a normal paper towel, like what grit. Because it's probably some grit. You could probably give it some sort of a grit equivalent. And it always kind of worries me that if, you know, you can put like a 1 micron grit particle, you know, liquid on a paper towel, but if the paper towel is like 5 microns, then you're not doing anything. Like, you may as well just stop, you know, at the 5 micron polish at that point. I don't know if that made sense, but I'm not really a big fan of doing work that is unnecessary or that is not doing anything, you know. So, but I do, and then the question is, you know, what's the difference? Is the blue paper towel like actually, you know, less abrasive? Is it a higher grit particle? We need to get some scientists in on this, figuring this stuff out. I don't even know how you would like test that. Yeah, you got to get Mark's laser cut holder. This thing is awesome. And it has magnets on the bottom, or a magnet. So it just sticks to my lathe. I put it right next to the tailstock over there. It is game changing. How do people get that? Do you have like an Etsy? I definitely think I need to get a new number 2. Because it is just not really wanting to come out of this bottle. I wonder if the... I wonder if the tip is just kind of clogged up. Doesn't seem like it. It's just pretty thick. I got some thick number 2, guys. I don't know what to do about it. There we go. All right. And for anybody that's new to magic juice, sometimes the number 2 tends to kind of stick and it'll like grab your paper towel. So that one I kind of give a little bit more pressure when I'm applying it, because it tends to grab your paper towels and spin them up. And that's like a really good, I don't know, I've done it on the stream where it wraps that. And that's the thing, is like you don't really want to be using something applying this stuff that won't just rip, because if it wraps up, it can wrap your fingers up in there and like break them, you know. And I mean, I don't know, it ain't gonna feel good if you get your hand caught in a wrapped, you know, thing spinning around the lathe, and it's gonna happen so fast that there's no way that you're gonna be able to do anything about it. So just be careful, you know, using that kind of stuff. Long hair even, or clothes, sleeves. And that's around anything, any machine, you know, that's moving. But I do know people who have gotten their hair caught on the lathe. It ain't cool. I mean, I actually know of somebody that died because that happened. So just, you know, be aware of loose articles of things. Gloves can be bad. Obviously, I'm wearing gloves right now. This is your own personal thing. You know, everybody's safety is your own responsibility, but these will rip fast. I'm not particularly worried about getting nitrile gloves caught on the lathe. I mean, there could be maybe like a slight chance that I could somehow get somewhat injured, but it's not going to be like a trip to the hospital. You know, these things will just rip quick. But you know, like cotton fabrics that don't rip, that's where you really got to watch out on the lathe. All right, so we're on number 5. All right, everybody's favorite, step 6. Just adds that little extra little polish. So good. Yeah, I hope nobody's looking. I mean, if they are, then you got to charge that person more. All right. And I'm going to go grab that little microfiber towel to wipe it off. Of course, while the lathe is not spinning. Can't wait to see how this pen turned out. Just wipe that off a little bit if there's any extra little polish on there. I think one of the things, I'm not sure. I don't know all the facts about the magic juice. But I do believe that the number 6 actually also adds like an anti-static. That's another thing that some of the car polishes and things can do. Kind of give you an anti-static thing. Like that's one of the things that I noticed from the buffing wheels. And frankly, even if you buff, you know, right now I only have 2 buffing wheels. There's other options for different buffing rouges, but I just use the Tripoli, Tripoly, the orange one, and then the white diamond. And frankly, white diamond is not that high of a polish. So even if I buff something, I actually come back and hit it with 5 and 6 with magic juice because it just leaves it amazing. So like there are options out there on, you know, for buffing wheels, and I actually have some of them. The blue rouge I know is a little higher. Frankly, I didn't get very good results with it though. I get better results using just magic juice after buffing. But I can get, so like the difference is I can get the surface, like if there's any little scratches, the buffing wheels I can actually use to get any things that any blemishes out, right? Especially the Tripoli wheel. But the white diamond doesn't actually get it polished high enough, like that gloss that you can get on, get with these. I mean, look at that. It's just like, you got to wear sunglasses. The photons are just getting your eyes. So, you know, it's good to have lots of different things in the shop because they all kind of can work together. And oh, I forgot to mark this, but you know, frankly, a lot of times with color swirl type, you know, that's the wrong camera. Let's put it on the right camera. A lot of times when you're just swirling colors, I mean, you can just look at it and like either figure out how it's supposed to go, probably like that, or, you know, there may be like a way that it goes that wasn't actually how the blank was, that looks better. Now, I think most likely the blank went like this, so there's this continuation. Even if that's not how it went, I don't really care. That's how I want to do it. But it's pretty obvious. I mean, there's a lot of green back here, you know. So a lot of times you don't have to worry about it. But what I will do is I'll mark, you know, I'll put the blank before I turn it, put the 2 blanks together, and just kind of pop them open and then grab a Sharpie and just mark the inside of the tube so that I know, you know, this is how it was supposed to go, but I actually forgot to do that today. So, but like I said, most of the time it's not that big of a deal. Sometimes it may be. All right, so again, we're going with the Element series from Turner's Warehouse. It's solid stainless steel. I love these kits. They're really cool. So all the components are made so like there's no plating. It is literally made out of stainless steel. So bulletproof, to say the least. But really a nice one. And even if you got something on it. Now, the other thing is they call it Element Series because, so there's stainless steel, there's also aluminum, but there's also brass and copper, which those two you can patina. And you can get some really cool effects applying like a patina to it. And they'll just patina over time if you don't want to. You can treat them with like a vinegar salt solution that will, probably like within a matter of minutes, start a process of, changing it. It'll turn it like kind of greenish. It's really cool. So you can do that and use like a vinegar solution, but you can also just, over time from the oils and stuff and the environment, salts in the air and all that, just handling the pen will put a patina on it over time. This one's a little tight. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Looking pretty good. The other nice thing about cigar kits specifically is you're not stuck, like compared to like the junior, the rollerball kits. Once you've assembled the pen, once you've put the parts in the pen, you'd have to disassemble the parts if you got the orientation wrong. But with the cigar kit, you can just pull it apart and put it back together if you didn't get things kind of lined up when you first did it. So I really like the cigar kits. One of the cool things about the Element series, these kits, they come in. So this is a cigar kit, but they come in cigar, like a Sierra style, or like the Wall Street, or what's the other one? Possibly more. I always think Sierra. That was always the back in the day. But the other one is the Monarch. Might be something, I don't know. Anyway, they're all the same thing. Gatsby. So like single blank kits. They got the cigar. They've got junior series, and they also, is that it? Yeah, I think it's the 3. Sierra style, like a single, cigar, and junior. So that's pretty neat. You can get them in any, and what I really like is those are my 3 favorite kits. So, dang, these things are tight. Ooh. All right, so I'm just gonna get the ink in there now. This thing kind of going. Oh, I don't have a spring on there. Helps to put the spring in. Why did I take the spring off? I literally took the spring off. That was silly. All right, so let's get that thing like that. Let's double check and make sure. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Oh. That's not working right. Might need to go find a different transmission. Okay. There we go. Something was just kind of funky in there. All right, now we know how this thing goes together. We want it like that to continue that kind of pink swirl going through there. But looking at this, is there a way that we like? I think I really like this this little feature right here with the pearl kind of popping through the pink. I think I want that kind of on the front. I don't want to block this pink line though, so I think I'm going to put the clip like basically like right like this. Somewhere around there. I think that'll be good. All right. So what I was saying about the cigar kits, these things, you can put them on and off as many times as you want without having to like disconnect the entire, like disassemble the entire pen. So I'm going to line up that with that. And then you just push it together. And there's even like a little bit of wiggle room, I think. There we go. Get that all the way. Oh, see, I messed it up. I didn't get it correct. It's close. But it's kind of a little bit off. So what I can do is just pull it apart. And then push it back together. There we go. And then we got it all lined up. It's pretty cool. I like the colors. Definitely kind of Easter basket-y. Feels good. One of the things, so a couple interesting things about the Element kits also is, so the stainless steel is a pretty heavy component. It's going to feel a little bit heavier than your kind of standard cigar kit. Aluminum is super light. So that's kind of an interesting thing. You get kind of the both ends of the spectrum there. I want to say that brass, and I think brass is pretty heavy. It might be even heavier than stainless steel possibly. Not sure what the weight density kind of thing is between those two, but both of those are kind of on the heavier side. Like it's going to create a heavier pen. Like I said, aluminum is like super lightweight. It's way lighter than your normal standard kit components. And then I think copper is kind of in the middle. It's more like it kind of feels like a normal kit. So it's pretty cool. I always love those things. So let me just go grab one more link to those. I can. Oh, that didn't work. There's a link in the description. I know that. Oh, that's not it. Oh, hold on a minute. Let me. Ow. A crazy thing in my hand. Element Series pen kits. Another thing that they do also sell is they sell solid metal, like like for the blank, where the blank would go. If you wanted to get a fully, why isn't this working? If you wanted the whole pen and wanted to put a patina on the thing, they actually sell components that are basically like the blank in like the copper, and I'm not sure what all. They have like all three of them. It might just be copper and brass. Let me look real quick. Yeah, they just have like the copper and brass, which basically, so you're not going to really turn it, but you can create an entire pen that's patinaed with all solid metal. It's pretty cool. So let me. Why is this not working? I'm just going to link to the, in general, like all the kits, that page, not a specific one. So you can kind of check them out if anybody's interested in looking at these things. I think they're really cool, and they're a Turner's Warehouse, makes them basically. So it's the only place you're going to get them. So there's a link to that. Yeah, not too bad. So hopefully Barb will like this pen. Get this thing sent out pretty soon here. Barb's not here today, I don't think. Let's see. No, I don't think so. We'll have to see. Hopefully Barb likes this one. But again, linked in the description is the white pearl. I really like that Snow White from P-Town Subby for doing like a kind of a pearl thing. That one's good. Again, if you're an eye candy person, then the Shida or Shide. Why do they have to make things so hard to say? That's another good one. It's about the same type of a deal. I like to add a little bit of white dye when I'm doing the kind of like a mother of pearl, that real true pearl look. It whitens it even more. It's kind of crazy because you're looking in the cup and you're looking at this stuff and you're like, wow, that's really white. And the funny thing is you add white pigment to it and you're like, wow, that was not dead on white. Like you can get it whiter. So, is there anything else? And like I said, the faux burl 10 packs, they're available. I got a couple of them right now for sure in stock, and I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I've got enough for one more. I think I just need to add it to the inventory. But so for the over pours, right? I just pour the excess resin. And so it's just 10 of these guys in a box, and then you can just recast them if you want. They're $10. They're just kind of fun little things. So I got 2 of those available in my store right now. Let's see here. Let me scroll up and see if I'm missing anything here. No, critical item. Having an anchor point. Burn wires, yeah. Oh yeah, don't wrap them around your fingers. Ah. No, I don't like that. Yeah, not good. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, Amy Schimmel got her hair caught. I mean, it wasn't a bad thing, but I mean, it ripped a chunk of her hair out, and she knows. I mean, you really got to be careful around lathes. You really watch those long sleeves. If you've got like dangly, like if you're wearing like a hoodie, a lot of people don't even think about this kind of stuff. If you got a hoodie with like the 2 drawstring things, and you bend over with the thing, and I mean, some of these things, you're like, how could it possibly get wrapped up? I don't know, but I mean, if it did somehow, especially when you got like chucks, 4-jaw chucks, those things have all kinds of things hanging off that can grab onto stuff. It's a little bit hard, I think, if you're pen turning. That's a little bit harder to get things wrapped up, but I mean, it freaks you out. Like I said, I'm just doing the magic juice. The number 2, the magic juice, for some reason, is like kind of sticky. It might just be because it's really dry in in Nevada. Maybe in more humid places, it's not as temperamental, but that stuff tends to be really sticky. And just with a paper towel, I mean, in a second, it just wraps it up, and you're just like, ugh, I can't imagine if you had something. If somehow you got something got caught up like that and your hand got stuck in there, it would not feel good. So definitely, I mean, I think out of all the things in my shop, I mean, the lathe is probably one of the most benign tools. Really, I mean, like the table saw, that thing scares the crap out of me. I really don't like the chop saw. It makes all kinds of noise and there's fingers and things going on. The band saw, it's a little bit less, but I mean, like all these things, like even I'm always really kind of worried. I'm conscious of the disc and belt sander thing, like getting things kind of stuck in there, and I'm like, Blondie Hacks. If anybody's familiar with that channel, Blondie Hacks is like a machinist channel, and she's always like, everything in the shop is trying to kill you. So just walk into the shop knowing that. And you'll do a lot better if you just realize that all these machines, they are literally trying to kill you. So just, keep that in the back of your mind. Number 2, sticky in Connecticut. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's really sticky. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this one come together. I enjoyed making this. Yeah, I really like I like that pink shade. Little Pepto-y. Yeah, It's kind of, I mean, that's the tough thing. I think, I don't really do a lot with pinks, because it seems to me that there's either like just hot pink or there's like, Pepto pink, and like there's not a whole lot in the middle for me with pink. So I'm usually, it's just not one that I gravitate towards a lot. But I'm going to try to maybe come up with a couple different shades of pink with the pigments. So I may end up coming out with one, if I can come up with something that's like really catches my eye, kind of thing. So I'll kind of play around with that. I do like this one though. It's a good little bit Pepto-y, but maybe we can kind of tweak it with some other kind of color to just slightly change it a little bit more. I don't know. Let me know if you guys have any pink suggestions. So anyway, I hope everybody has a good Easter tomorrow. And I think that's about it. So next week we'll be back in the shop. We'll do some resin casting. I got to come up with a new idea for some blanks. That'll be kind of fun. And I think that's about it, guys. Yeah. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the evening. Thanks for joining the fun tonight, and I'll see you guys on the next stream.